Hey guys, this is Rajat from codelit.dev. So I've been writing this open source framework for content creators like course creators who want to create their own course website and things like that. So this CMS is structured or geared towards that sort of an audience. Now this project is open source and already available on GitHub in case you want to check or in case you want to create a course website of your own. You can go and check this project out. So this is an open source project, and in order to make this open source project, I had to make certain decisions about how I am going to write a code, and this journey helped me in learning quite a few things about open source contributions and writing open source softwares, which I'm going to share with you guys in this video. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips regarding how to code for an open source project, or how to make contributions towards an open source project, or how to maintain an open source project. So let's dive right in, and I hope that I would be able to give you certain tidbits about how to be effective when working with some piece of open source software. So let's start. So the very first thing you have to think deeply about is to write readable code. Now you can be a really good programmer, really good at it, right? You can be a programming wizard. You might be aware of many sophisticated programming techniques, right? Like bitwise operations, XOR operation, things like that, right? And you can write really esoteric code which only a couple of highly knowledgeable person know. But that is not the intent when you are writing the code for some open source project. You have to ensure that whatever you are writing is at the end of the day understandable by the masses, because when you are making some open source contribution, you are expecting that this piece of code is going to be touched by many individuals. And what is the bestest way to ensure that all or most of the people from the masses can understand your code is to write really clean code and really understandable code, instead of creating something which only a few of programmers can understand, like the kind of code you write for Google Code Jam or algorithms and things like that. So try to write the code which is easy to understand and which is easy to maintain. So that is the primary key. The second thing which you can do is to write proper documentation, because hey, in any open source project, documentation is pretty important, because when you are open sourcing stuff, you are making an assumption that this piece of code or this piece of particular your offering or someone else's offering which you are contributing to will be used by other people. And how will they be able to use the software when there is no proper guide detailing how to use this thing? So every single time you are creating any sort of public interface, public API, or making changes to the framework which directly impact the end user, you have to document those things properly. Because if you do not document them, your users, the users of your open source project, are going to scratch their heads thinking, how are they supposed to use this library? Although this library claims to work like that, but I do not really know. How can I use that in my project? So they won't be having those sort of answers, and inadvertently they are going to open issues against your open source project, asking for frequently asked questions. Like, those questions can be very naive, as simple as asking, how can I use this project, when there is no documentation. So you always have to ensure that you always document things up when you are considering some open source contribution to any open source project. The third thing which you should really try is to write code which is extensible. Try to write classes which follow solid principles, dry principles, and things like that, so that it is easier for someone else to come in and modify those things, or introduce additional functionalities as per the software engineering principles and other common knowledge in the programming field. Okay, because the intent of any open source project is to be in a state where it can be used by as many people as possible or as many projects as possible. So the quickest way to achieve that thing is to create such a design where things are easily extensible, where one can easily extend a class or easily introduce additional functionalities to a class. So follow all the software engineering principles as closely as you can and try to make things as customizable as possible in the realm of what can be customizable and what should not be customizable. Okay, you should not try to make every single thing customizable. You really have to think through like what should be customizable, and if it should be customizable, how can I ease this process? Okay, so how can I make this customization easier for the end user? You can introduce any sort of like options array or things like that where you expect like 20 inputs in that array in order for your framework to work. You can do that, but if you do that, your end user will not be able to follow most of the times, and you should not expect your end users to go through 20 of those options, right? So it is better for you to specify some sort of defaults in case the user has skipped any of those 20 settings, and if he has provided one setting, then just override that particular setting and use a default for the other 19 settings. So you have to make adjustments like that. Okay, so make your code extensible or easy to extend. So the gist of this particular point is to write highly decoupled system. I have already talked about it. You can watch it here. So that is everything I wanted to talk about making open source contributions. And in case you have any doubt, be sure to ask your doubts in the comment section, because I read every single comment that you guys leave on this channel. In case you have more questions regarding software engineering, computer science and things like that, ask me in the comment section or send me an email, or my handles are mentioned in the channel description or the description of this video. So just hit me up and I'll try to address your queries to the best of my knowledge. And I'll see you guys over in the next video.